Hey everyone, Nick Dearbertis here teaching you financial modeling. And today we're going to be solving the lab exercise in the Python basics section on using classes. So the lab exercise that I'm talking about is here at the end of the classes section in the Going Beyond an Initial Python Script lecture series. And the actual exercise is contained within the Python Basics Lab Jupyter notebook. And then the other thing that you want to make sure to complete this lab is that you have the car example.py file also downloaded and in the same folder as your Python Basics Lab Jupyter notebook. Let's go ahead and jump over to that notebook. So you can see I have the car example file here in the same folder, so we'll actually be able to work with it. So the first exercise here is asking for us to use this car class, which is defined in the car example file. And we want to drive the car until it runs out of gas, and then we want to fill it up and drive some more. So the first thing we can do is from car example, import car. And then we can run that, so then the car is defined. So we can do my car equals car, and then parentheses, and then we can do shift tab in there to see what we're supposed to pass to it. So we're supposed to pass it the make and the model. So let's create here. How about a nice WRX for us to drive? And then we want to drive it. So we call drive once and we get to 40%, right? So that's not quite there. We haven't run out of gas yet. 2 drives, we get to 30%. So it's already getting kind of repetitive to keep typing drive. So maybe a better way of going about it is to run a certain number of loops where we drive within that loop. So by doing that, we are going to drive 5 times by doing range 5 here. And so we do run out of gas there at the end. So then we want to fill up the car. So we're going to call fill up. So we run that and we can see we get down to 0 and then it's filled up. So then we can go driving again. So we can then drive again. So we ran out of gas, we filled it up, and then we started driving again. So that is what the exercise requested. Then coming to exercise 2. So here we want to use data classes, and we want to create a data class to represent a stock. So that stock is going to have a price, a ticker, a name, and industries in which it resides. And we want to have default values for each of these as well. And then go ahead and create an instance of that. So the first thing that we're going to do is from data classes, import data class, so that we can then use the data class decorator, this at data class thing, before defining our class. So then we can define stock as our class. And we're going to have the price be a floating point number. Let's just say it's 100 by default. We're going to have ticker is going to be a string. Let's say it's Microsoft by default. We're going to have name, also a string. So that is going to be Microsoft. And we're going to have industries is going to be here a tuple where they can be in the software industry, and they can also be in the computer hardware industry because of the Service Tablet and things like that. So now we have this data class defined, and just like functions, just having that class definition doesn't do anything yet. We have to actually use it. So now let's create an instance of the stock for Apple. And so, again, you hit Shift Tab, you're going to see, what it is that you're supposed to pass. Price, ticker, name, industries. So let's say their price is 150. Their ticker is Apple. Their name is Apple. If I can spell today. And let's just take the existing industries because they're in the same industries, right? So we don't have to pass anything for industries. But then when we look at Apple, we can see that Apple, it has the price that we passed, it has the ticker, it has the name that we passed, but it took the default industries of software and computer hardware. So we can get the industries like that, or we can get the name or whatever else we need out of these data. So then coming to the third exercise, we want to create a function which prints out the industries the company is in along with the ticker. And this function should only accept a single argument. That argument should be an object of the stock type. So, often when I'm writing out a function, I like to kind of just write the logic out in the cell so I can easily test it out and then wrap it into a function once it's working. Let's say we're going to call the argument of our function stock. So I'm just going to set stock equal to AAPL. So now stock has all of Apple's information. And that's because later we're going to have, define, show industries, and it's going to take stock as an argument. So I'm just doing this so that, the code that I'm about to write, it will work out in the cell by being based off this stock variable. And then when we put it into the function, that's also expecting to have a variable named stock. So we don't have to change things to be able to put that in. So what do we want to do here? So we want for each industry, we want to print out a string saying what the industry was as well as the ticker of the stock. So a for loop makes perfect sense here for industry in stock.industries. We're going to print a formatted string where that is going to first have the ticker for the stock, and then it is in industry, and then it's going to be the industry loop variable. So we can give that a try, and we can see that indeed it's working correctly. It prints out for each industry. It prints out the ticker is in the industry. So now we know that this works. So let's put it into the function. So we can just take that and put it under there. And let's put this in our answer section. And so now we have that. Of course, when we define it, it doesn't actually do anything. But we can pass it Apple as our stock, and we see that it prints it out appropriately. But because we made this a function, it's going to work with any stock that we want. So if we wanted to make, say Caterpillar's stock, that's going to be another stock. And that's going to say have, a $200 price. It's going to have cat as the ticker. It's going to have Caterpillar as the name, and the industry would be construction, machinery, things like that. And so then we can pass Caterpillar to this, and then we get those same kind of output now for Caterpillar instead. So we can see how using a function for this, we didn't have to change this logic at all when we wanted to go and apply it to Caterpillar as well. So it allows us to reuse that code very easily. So that wraps up our lab exercises on classes, and that's the final lab exercise in the Python basics section. So thanks for listening, and see you next time.